All righty, good Thursday morning, and welcome in to the Chico Bormann Show here on the Big Play Sports Network. Always great to have you along. Of course, you can stream us live 11 to 1 Monday through Friday. Do so by following us on Twitter at Chico Show CLE, also on YouTube. If you are not a subscriber, we certainly encourage you to do so. Hit the Chico Bormann Show, hit subscribe, and you'll be all set to go. Also available on Spotify after the show, an audio version only. So we're getting it up and going, and credit to our social media team for getting all that good stuff out there. All right, big show for you today. As yes, we've got preseason game. Ryan, I don't know is it 3 or it's technically it's 3 for the Browns, 2 for everybody else. But I mean, the Hall of Fame game, really, it's preseason game number 2. I mean, if you really want to look at it in terms of everybody, It's preseason game number 2.
It's technically preseason week 2, but the Browns, obviously this will be their 3rd showing.
Yeah. And this one, we're going to get into this a little bit later in the show because we've got Bob DiBiasio from the Guardians coming on here in just a few moments. But I think this one, we're not going to see any of the starters. This is one of those where you will see, plenty of DTR. He's going to start, and Kellen Mond. And the thing that's interesting about this, and this is where, not that anybody should be paying attention to the score, but especially in a game like tonight and this one, the starters are not going to play at all. And think of the backups. They really didn't get much time to practice this week because, again, you had the 2 joint practices in Philadelphia. That was mainly the ones, which was good because they needed it. You needed to get some sort of, ramping up. I know it's, bubble wrap, and we got to make sure everybody's safe and collective bargaining agreements, and I get it. But so who knows what to expect tonight. We will talk about a few storylines, and I think one guy in particular that everybody's going to have their eye on. So we'll get into that coming up a little bit later on in the show. First of all, before I bring Bobby D in, I something is not right here in studio, Ryan. By the way, matching T-shirts. We did not call each other, but matching Big Play. We're company people.
Great minds think alike, Chico.
So this is the hat. These are. Got that one over there. There's one just off to my right. I'm used to seeing Bernie's rookie year helmet to my right. Instead, we have this. Hang on. What is this, Rye? What are we doing here?
They're the big hats, Chico. The big hats.
All right, before the end of the show. I mean, these are nice. Don't get me wrong, but it doesn't feel right starting the show without Bernie's helmet, rookie year helmet sitting to my right. I don't feel it's safe. I feel like I'm not a superstitious guy, but I just don't feel like it's, it all is right with the world right now. All right. I will say this. We do have Bob DiBiasio, and I believe he is standing by with us. There he is. Look at that. That is one of the best-looking Italian dudes you're going to find anywhere in the tri-state area. Bob DiBiasio, Senior VP for the Cleveland Guardians. Big weekend ahead, which we're going to tell you about. Bobby D, how are you, buddy?
So much better now that I've seen you in that big hat covering that dome of yours. Pretty awesome.
Bobby, you're never going to be able to unsee that. Like, that's
exactly.
Like you're gonna be out to dinner with the family or speaking at a luncheon somewhere, and all of a sudden, Bobby D, you're right. Oh, I'm sorry. I flashed back to Chico in this gigantic hat with his bald head, and it just scared the hell out of me.
Indeed.
All right, so we'll get to a little Guardians, but this is a fun weekend ahead. First of all, the team returns home beginning tonight. Homestand with 4 with Detroit, 3 with the LA Dodgers, red hot LA Dodgers, I might add.
Yes.
And a chance to catch them this weekend, but also not only do you get a chance to see the Detroit Tigers this weekend and then the Dodgers in the homestand, but very special Saturday evening when the Hall of Fame, you guys are going to welcome 2 new members. Now, before we get to Manny, I feel like Dale Mitchell's kind of being forgotten about here. Dale Mitchell was a a very integral part of that 48 championship team. But tell us about Dale Mitchell getting in, and then we're going to get to plenty of Manny stories, Manny being Manny stories too. But tell us about this weekend and Saturday night.
Will certainly be a wonderful night at Progressive Field, as we always love to connect generations and honor achievement on the baseball diamond. 75 years ago, our friend Dale Mitchell had a opportunity to, as you said, make a major impact on a 1948 World Series club. He will probably be the last piece of that 48 team to go into the Hall of Fame. His family, I think there's 13 to 15 members of his family. Dale Jr., his brother Bo and sister Lana, and all their kids and grandkids are coming into town to be a part of this special night. You know, Dale Mitchell was a prolific defender, played left field, was one of the top defensive outfielders in the game of baseball. He played alongside Larry Doby, who was in center field. He was also a 300 hitter, led the league in hits one year with 203. He had speed. He hit from the left side, 23 triples, led the league in 1949 as his 203 hits led the league. Most his entire career, 10 plus of his 11-year career here in a Cleveland uniform. So 75th anniversary of that ball club, thought that we would dip into our rich history and honor Dale Mitchell alongside Manny Ramirez.
Real quick on Mitchell, I had to laugh because I saw, and I didn't know this obviously going into it. All I could think of was NIL move over. Like I read where this was mind-boggling. Like back when the Indians drafted him, there was an agreement, kind of like a handshake agreement, that they would give him payments until he graduated high school, and then the organization backed off. And I'm like, wait a minute, they did that back in the 40s or whenever that was. But so essentially he said, hey, I'm not going to report, but I'm also not going to negotiate with another team. I found that fascinating, though. I was like, whoa. And in NIL, we had this all the way back when.
Absolutely. Bob Feller, was offered a whole lot from a lot of different teams because and initially with Bob Feller, the commissioner thought it was illegal the way the Cleveland Indians went about securing the talents of Bob Feller off the farm in Van Meter, Iowa, out of high school. And Mr. Feller, Bob's dad, said, well, do you want me to sue you that my child doesn't have the right to go to work wherever he feels like going to work like every other American has? And so they didn't pursue that angle, and Bob Feller became obviously the greatest name in our franchise history. Mr. Mitchell went on to play at Oklahoma, where he has records that still hold to this day of Sooner baseball. His senior season, he hit .507. I think his career batting average there was something like .470.
This is real baseball, not softball, by the way, folks.
No, exactly. This is real baseball. In the early 40s, then he went on to serve our country in World War II as a member of the Army Air Force, and then joined the Cleveland Indians organization in the mid to late 40s. So we're excited that anytime we can dip back into our rich history, it really, makes us feel good.
So the late great Dale Mitchell will be honored, and as Bobby just said, his family will be in town to accept on his behalf, which is great. And of course, going in with Manny Ramirez, and I don't know if anybody, when you talk about Manny Ramirez, you just say Manny Ramirez, and there's a smile. Now it might be, man, he was one of the best hitters I've ever seen. Or it might be, gosh, I remember this one story. Or it can be both. That was the beauty of Manny Ramirez. That's going to be a fun night. And I think anybody, regardless of where he went and then played, and Manny Ramirez, much like those mid-'90s teams, Bobby, you know it. We all know it if we were fortunate enough to be around for it. It was a magical, magical time, and Manny still in the hearts of many Cleveland fans.
Absolutely. All-stars everywhere around the diamond. Many of them will be with us on Saturday. Sandy and Kenny and Carlos and Charlie Nagy, and a group of them will be there to help assist in the induction of Manny into our Hall of Fame. I happen to believe that if you had an argument about who was the best right-handed hitter of that generation, that Manny has to be at the top of that list. I would argue with anybody that the left side's a harder one with Tony Gwynn and Ken Griffey Jr. and Barry Bonds. I mean, those three of the most prolific hitters in the history of the game from the left side. But from the right side, there are a number of them, but I think Manny should be tabbed as the best. And he did it by sheer hard work. I mean, he was blessed to be a hitter. You know, he came from George Washington High School out of the Bronx, our number one pick, 13th overall, which means 12 teams passed on him. And I'll never forget, Chico, back in those days at Cleveland Stadium, we had one batting cage under the bleachers. And so when we brought in the draft picks who had signed, we couldn't really work them out in our ballpark. Now we take every one of our draft picks who sign, and they all go to Goodyear, and they spend a month or two learning who we are. We get to know who they are. It's a whole strategic process in acclimating these young men into our ball club, into our organization. Back then, we went to Baldwin Wallace College, and they played, and they had batting practice.
Bobby, are you sure there weren't like 7 state-of-the-art batting cages in the bowels of Cleveland Municipal Stadium? I thought, I didn't realize that.
No, we didn't quite have that. And so we're out at Baldwin Wallace College, and the Baldwin Wallace baseball team and their coach, know that we're coming. And so all of them skipped class, and they're coming. They wanted to see these kids because, a lot of them wanted to judge, oh, this kid just became a professional baseball player. How do I stack up against this kid? Am I good enough to get drafted? And then they all heard, about Manny Ramirez because he was the Gatorade Player of the Year in America that year. And Mickey White, our scouting director, really fought, as you saw, 12, as I mentioned, 12 teams passed on him. And he fell to us at 13, and we grabbed him. And he was hitting balls. Every one of these kids on the team and the coach would saddle up next to me, and he goes, "We've never seen baseballs hit this far on this field, even in batting practice, ever." He was just bombing them as a kid out of high school, and everybody just raved about his swing, his approach, and then his work ethic. Again, the way things come together, Chico, in sports, that a coach and an athlete come together at the same time in their careers, and how that can really spur excellence. Charlie Manuel is our hitting coach, with Jimmy Tomey and Manny Ramirez and Carlos Baerga and Kenny Lofton and that whole crew. There was just something special about that connection. And Charlie would see Manny and Jimmy and the group just sitting in their locker after BP, and he'd go, "Come here." And they'd walk into the batting cage, and all of a sudden they're hitting off the tee, or he's soft tossing to them. Just to make sure that they kept that swing nice and sweet. And again, Manny Ramirez could take anyone's bat and hit with it. He just a remarkable talent. He worked his butt off.
So we're talking to Bob DiBiasio, Senior VP for the Guardians. I've been with the organization many, many years. And, of course, Saturday night, the Tigers will be in town. But most importantly, the Guardians/Indians will be welcoming in now Dale Mitchell, the late, great Dale Mitchell, and Manny Ramirez into the club's Hall of Fame. You hit the nail on the head, Bobby, and that's exactly where I wanted to go, was the work ethic. Because again, I opened it by saying with Manny, it's Manny being Manny, and I mean, clearly he had one of the most beautiful swings, but he worked his tail off. And I was on Wednesdays during the baseball season, I talked to Brett Boone each and every week, and he came on yesterday, and I just wanted to get his thoughts on Manny Ramirez. The first thing he says is, Chico, I studied him the second half of my career. Like, I studied him a lot because he had an approach. I think we can go back. I believe the actual term, he was Einstein in the box. Now, somebody might laugh at that and go, Manny?
Yeah.
But that's, I mean, Booney said, he's like, Chico, he always had an approach, and he was always 2 or 3 steps ahead. That doesn't get talked about a whole lot with Manny.
No, it doesn't. Working a pitcher, dare I say, swing at a pitch he probably shouldn't have for strike one, setting up a pitcher to be able to go attack the next ball in the strike zone.
He brought that up too. Yeah, he said he mastered that.
That you have that kind of confidence in who you are. Again, he and Jimmy Thome come to us, and they're batting 7th and 8th in the lineup, and then they as rookies, and then Sandy Alomar's batting 9th, and he's hitting 299, and they just rise to the middle of the order to become that impact duo for us, with Carlos hitting 3. That just carried us to all those division titles and couple American League pennants, but you can't get past the smarts, but the hard work. This game, and it's true, maybe even more true today than ever, because the pitching is so ridiculously good in Major League Baseball today that hitting a baseball is the hardest thing to do in sports. And the only way to do it is just repetitive work on your swing, your balance, your trigger, the whole thing. And Manny just loved those guys. Chico and Winter Haven, not the greatest setup in terms of functionality, and it was a 1930s barracks kind of feel to it in Winter Haven. Our guys used it as part of their warrior attitude, actually. But Manny and Jimmy and those guys, by 7 o'clock in the morning, they've already hit for 45 minutes to an hour, and they're just, sweating like crazy. And that's before a lot of the team even showed up. I mean, that's why Jimmy's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Manny certainly at that level, and it's going to be fun just to see the reaction of his teammates with him on the ball field on Saturday night.
You had a buzzword there for me with Manny, and it was balance, because I don't remember, like you said, swinging at a pitch out of the zone, I don't ever remember Manny looking fooled. Even if he was acting like he was always on balance, whatever you want to call it, like always smooth, always in control. You just don't remember him having an off balance type swing.
Think about it. Off the top of my head, I'm going to try to think. So those of you who are watching, listening, go to baseballreference.com and check out Manny Ramirez's statistics. But the 1998, 1999 combined seasons, something like 69 doubles and 310 RBIs and 70-some homers, which include 165 RBI
exclamation
in the season
point
of 1999. We've been around 123 years now in the American League. In 123 years, our ball club has only scored 1,000 or more runs once. That was 1999, and Manny drove in 165. Robbie Alomar had a hell of a year that year as well.
Loved Robbie.
But Manny drove in 165 runs, and I think he played 150 games or something. He didn't play all 162. That's just being on fire. Every hitter gets on fire, but for 6 straight months, it boggles the mind when you really look at it.
So, and Saturday night again, Dale Mitchell, Manny Ramirez going in. There will be you guys are giving away bobbleheads, right? I mean, I'm
Manny Ramirez bobblehead for Saturday, and back-to-back fireworks and all the fun things that happen. So CleeGuardians.com is the place to go to learn about, Free Shirt Fridays and kids running the bases on Sunday and all the things that add value to your visit to our ballpark. And we've been blessed with a wonderful schedule and terrific support by our fans and great weekend attendances all throughout the summer. And I'm sure it'll continue. We need to get this baseball team to be a little bit more consistent so we can get to that 500 mark and really attack the Twins who we're chasing right now. It's pretty remarkable to a lot of us, though, that with 4 rookies as the 4 of the 5 starters that we're still in this thing. Our division helps us in that regard. But to watch, Tanner Bybee and Gavin Williams, Logan Allen, even Xavier Curry grow and develop right before our eyes because they've been pressed into duty, which we have to be careful, as Tito always talks about. You got to be careful on their pitch limit. You have to think about long term with these young kids in their arms. They've never thrown this many innings at this high intensity. And what does that do? Well, that puts an extra burden on your bullpen, and therefore your bullpen gets a little more inconsistent than what it was a year ago, but still overall statistically still ranks among one of the best in the league. So finding that offensive consistency, it's what we fight for. Play good, solid defense, pitch the ball well, and get a consistent offense going.
Okay, so Bobby, I know you have to run here in a little bit. I don't want to keep you, but I can't talk about this occasion and talk about Manny being Manny without sharing Manny being Manny stories. My favorite, I've already said, I told it the other day on the air, and I first heard it from you when I was working in Erie, PA, the Chad O.J. Simpson trial, and he's like, what are they chasing Chad for? Give me some. I mean, we've heard a lot of them. Can you just rattle off a couple of your favorites? That one with Chad O.J. and O.J. Simpson is, and you have to understand the scenario. Truly, go ahead and tell it.
It's post-ball game, so none of the guys in the locker room, none of them have any idea what's going on with O.J. Simpson until they come in after a game and the TVs in the clubhouse are turned on and it's breaking news. And Manny goes to his locker, goes to the training room, takes a shower. And again, he has no idea, which a lot of our guys had no idea what was going on in the world at that time other than their world of baseball. So now everybody's around the TVs and they're looking up, and Manny just walks out and he goes, "What's going on, guys? What are y'all interested in?" And somebody just said, OJ's being chased by the cops. And he goes, "Oh my goodness, what did Chad do tonight?" He didn't know who O.J. Simpson was. He had no idea who O.J. Simpson was, and had no idea what was going on with O.J. Simpson. The only O.J. he knew in his life was Chad O.J.
OGEA, baby.
Yeah. So, but that's the beauty of he's such a lovable young man when he was with us. Again, a hardworking, lovable kid. There was a time that Travis Fryman mentioned to me once that, Manny took his bat and went up to the plate, and Travis would always hit behind him, and he ropes a double off the wall. And now Travis Fryman, prior to Manny's at bat, is yelling of sorts, because Travis never yelled, one of the most gracious gentleman in the world. But he was talking to the bat boys like, "Where's my gamer? I'm on deck. Where's my gamer?" And they all were, they knew it was there, and they're not sure. And all of a sudden, Travis looks up and he sees Manny is using his bat. And he's like, "Well, I can't go up there and pick up the bat at home plate like Little League and go up and use the same bat." So while the kids were running to the bat rack behind the dugout to go get him a new one, Manny on the first or second pitch doubles off the wall. So Travis just took one of the heaviest bats he could find. He said, typical Travis Fryman. He said, "Well, my job right there is hit the ball to the right side, get Manny to third so we could score a run, get on the board early in the game." So he dribbled the ball to second base, and Manny gets over to third. The next time up, he ran into the dugout, grabbed his bat before Manny could use it a second time. And he just watched him. And he said Manny used somebody else's bat and homered. That's unbelievable in our game where baseball bats are like a member of the Cleveland Orchestra's violin. You don't mess with other people's instruments. But Manny could hit with any bat he put in his hand.
Bobby, always a pleasure catching up with you, buddy. Again, Guardians back home Saturday night, going to be a very special night. So head on up there if you're not already. Manny Ramirez, Dale Mitchell going into the Hall of Fame for the Guardians, and Manny Ramirez bobblehead night as well. Bobby, always fun. We'll do it again soon, pal. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chico. Put that hat back on. You look awesome, dude.
That's Bobby D. Oh, he's the best. You know what? All right, I'm going to do this. Can I? Yeah, Ryan, you can carry this for a little bit here. I got to. I can't do this anymore. So I got to put that on. Now, this is also, I don't know if we got like 25 of these things in. Boy, that is, oh my gosh, is that scary. Yeah, Bobby will not be able to unsee this. So, I mean, I know we got some new hats in, and that's great. Bernie doesn't take a back seat to anybody, all right? And I cannot in good faith do a show where we've got this in place of this hat in place of this hat. No way. Not on my watch, baby. There we go. All right.
Chico, you look very good in the big hat. Fits your head well, I think.
Now, is this one of those I used to be able to look good wearing it backwards, but that was about 30 years ago, maybe. But if you do that, what? It kind of looks like it's like a beret almost. It's like he wore it's like a mushroom cloud on my head.
You look like Toad from Mario.
Then you know what? I know who that is. Believe it or not, I know who that is, and you're right. Yeah. We don't go the whole show with this, do we? Or would that be? I mean, I don't want to scare kids away.
It's the Big Hat episode. We should make a day during the week. It's Big Hat Day.
Okay, it sounds like a good Seinfeld episode. I'm a big Seinfeld guy. So they had Fitted Hat Day on Seinfeld, the big sombrero, the puffy shirt. So yeah, all right. We're gonna go Big Hat Day. And I think we're going to leave this on. Now, do we turn it? Well, I already have the Big Play logo on just by chance. I didn't know, full disclosure, I didn't know we were getting these in. What's the origin of the big hat, Ryan?
So, Commanders running back Brian Robinson, and in one of his post-game interviews in the locker room, he was sporting a big hat just like that.
Did he look like me, too?
And
look as good as me? Probably not.
No, he didn't look as good as you, Chico.
No, of course not.
And it went viral all over social media, and then people started making big hats, and it just caught on like wildfire.
You could do the CC Sabathia look, kind of off to the side there. Yeah. But I'm going to go mushroom. You know, sadly, here's what's really, really the sad part of this, Ryan, and all of you out there. This does look better than this. I mean, never did I think there was a time I'll quote Seinfeld again. There was a time George would say that this was home to a full head of happy hair, and it's no longer, obviously. So, wow, that does. Yeah, and you see that glare? You just take care of it. That's what we do. We don't need makeup. We need a mushroom hat.
For all we know, you could have an afro under there.
Yeah,
we can't tell. We can't
I have long locks. I look like Fabio. How do you know I don't look like Fabio under this hat? All right. Great stuff from Bobby D, by the way.
Chico, real quick, side note, you mentioned Seinfeld. So I host trivia at a bar every Tuesday, and I had a question that only one or two teams got, and I was very shocked. So I'm going to throw it on you. I'm assuming you're going to get it, though. So basically I asked, what is the cafe in Seinfeld where the characters always hang out?
What is this, Amateur Hour? That's also a Seinfeld line. Monks, yeah.
There you go.
That's correct. Yeah. Amateur Hour, by the way, that's when Kramer, they bring the Merv Griffin set into the, he basically finds the Merv Griffin set in the dumpster, and he turns his apartment into the Merv Griffin set and acts like he's Merv Griffin. Like you don't know who Merv Griffin. That's okay. Merv Griffin was even not before my time, but he was old when I was a kid. So, but they had two animal acts going, and Kramer goes, 2 animal acts in the same hour? What is this, Amateur Hour? And then Elaine and Jerry like walk in. They start smelling they're like, these seats, these chairs, this couch, it all stinks. Kramer's like, evidently the stars of the 70s were not as hygienic as they appeared on TV.
Chico, I got another Seinfeld question. I think this one is going to be harder, so I'm interested.
Did somebody just send to you one?
So I just looked it up to confirm it. When I was doing trivia, I looked it up.
Okay.
So I wanted to confirm it first. But so in the end, the last episode of Seinfeld,
which I didn't really like, but that's okay.
Which Green Day song was playing as the series came to an end?
Had the time of my life. That one? Yeah.
Good Riddance, Time of Your Life.
Yeah. I mean, come on. Hey, what's the matter with you? Come on.
The big hat's covering your big brain.
That's what. If only my brain was the size of this hat. Oh my God, I'd be Ken Miles. You know, I'd actually, I'd do something with my life. All right, I'll tell you what. We're gonna take a break. We might come back with this hat. I don't know. I think this is one where it's got to go above me. We got to see if management's okay with me doing the show in this, because I'm going to talk about the Browns tonight. The Browns and the Eagles playing Philly. Can I be taken seriously, or will it be less serious? Because I'm not really taken seriously, but will it be like we can't even? You have to look away. I mean, like I said, Bobby D is absolutely scarred for life by this thing. He's scarred for life. All right, we'll be back with more Browns and Eagles coming up, and intern Ryan's got fair or foul. It is the Chico Bormann Show. Hidden underneath this hat, Fabio like locks. It's all right here in the Big Play Sports Network. Sorry, guys. I mean, I tried to come back with the hat. Management stepped in, and they said, they said, God, Chico, don't you understand? Mainly adults here at Burke Lakefront Airport, where our studio is. But there are occasionally kids. Matter of fact, just the last couple days, like taking tours. And can you imagine if a kid sees you like that and they're playing that video game, Mario? And so one more time, let me just, for old time's sake, I'm taking this home with me. One of them. I gotta take one of them home with me. All right. It is the Chico Bormann Show. Intern Ryan is in for Bohm. He will be back with us next week. So, good stuff from Bobby D. Manny being Manny, stories never get old. And if you're going to the game, my guess is they're going to be, not telling them over the PA, but fans there and everybody. It was a magical time. And Ryan, I know that I'm a little bit old, not much, just a couple years, but I know I'm a little bit older than you. And I know at times, because believe it or not, I was young once too. And my grandfather and my elders would talk about, the 48, the 54, and the Browns of the 60s. And I would just kind of like shake my head but the mid-90s, I mean, you've heard these names. So it's not like I'm going back to 54 or anything. It was an amazing time. And for those that were around, obviously the Browns, Art Modell did his Art Modell thing, and the Browns were out of town for a while, as you may have heard. And so, everybody's used to, like, Bobby was being kind. He mentioned, one batting cage. Cleveland Municipal Stadium was, I don't know how to explain it. For Browns games, it was perfect. I mean, even for, baseball and for the old Indians, it was perfect for me as a kid because, hey, that's where they played, and it was awesome. Browns games, absolutely perfect. There are times I wish we had it back. But that place, by and large, was a dump. If when you read stories about guys like Bobby D, who's quoted in Meisel's book, when they talk about, his book talking about the 90s, it was, Booney's talked about it too. You couldn't, the showers wouldn't drain. It was like a minor league facility. Only this was the big leagues. Can you imagine getting the call? You're an LA kid or something, right? And you're playing for the Angels, and all of a sudden, you get the call up, and you're like, yes, all right, no more ketchup packets here. No more hot dogs from the concession stand. This is going to be steak. This is going to be lobster. This is going to be, I can shower with hot water for an hour after the game if I want. Where am I going? You're going to report to Cleveland. That's where we're at right now. Oh, okay, cool. And then you go there, you're like, wait a minute. This is like the minor league place I was at. This was better. It had better facilities than this one. It was bad. Art didn't care. It was bad. But anyway, magical years, and Manny was just an incredible player. And then on top of it, all of the great stories. So if you want to chime in on that, you certainly can. Your fondest memories, Manny memories, whatever. 216-626-7901. Of course, you can follow along and stream the show live. We do this every day, 11 to 1. At Chico Show CLE on Twitter. Go to YouTube, The Chico Bormann Show. Hit subscribe. You're ready to go. Browns and Eagles tonight, Ryan. It's football, so we're excited. It's Browns football, so we're excited. But in terms of what we're going to see and what this is going to look like, and well, you already know preseason you're not going to see starters. Tonight, you're definitely not going to see starters. Not at all. Their time in the sun came Monday and Tuesday, got a little hectic, got a little hairy. That's what joint practices do. It's what it's there for. They get a lot of their work in. What I think is interesting about tonight is the guys that you will see, the backups, didn't really have a chance to practice a whole lot this week either because, again, you're in Philly, joint practices, so it was the starters mainly. So we'll see how this goes. But I think, for me, I don't care what the score is. I don't care. I don't. Is Cade York, and I don't think I'm being overly dramatic with this. Like, yes, there's time, and yes, like kickers go through ruts, but like, I want to see just. It's not too much to say. I want to see him make 1, 2, God forbid 3 field goals. We heard the other day in practice that he was 6 of 6 and he was boom. We know he's got the leg, 48, 52. It doesn't matter. This guy can do it all. But, when it gets down to game time, crunch time, and by the way, he's missing in preseason games. I don't have to tell you that September 10th and, Cleveland Brown Stadium, Joe Burrow, we think, the Bengals definitely are in town. And if it comes down to Cade York, right now, what's his mindset? Little things, as I've said many times, little things becoming big things. And for a team that has playoff aspirations, and you can say, boy, playoffs are bust, it's kind of lofty, and the AFC is very loaded. All of that's true, but this is where the Browns are at right now. This is certainly where the fan base is at, and what the fan base deserves. And Stefanski knows it. Deshaun Watson certainly knows it. Cade York certainly knows it. So, I think as far as tonight, I don't know about you, Ryan. Little things I'll be looking for. Certainly, who stands out with the backups. Does DeJuan Jones look good? Ronnie Hickman continue his good play if you're talking about former Buckeyes. I think as far as the safety room, DeAnthony Bell didn't have the greatest game against the Commanders. I mean, the secondary looks solid, but you always want depth. So he's fourth safety. So he'd be somebody you're looking at. The corners have looked great. That's one thing that Philadelphia reporters were saying is that you've got A.J. Brown and you've got Devontae Smith and you've got some talent in that Philadelphia Eagles wide receiver room. And Denzel Ward and Greg Newsome, Martin Emerson, he's becoming a fan favorite. He's long, he's physical, but really the reports out of Philadelphia largely were about this guy, this secondary is going to be very good, and of course the front line is loaded. But what does it look like depth wise? Does DTR continue to wow us? I still don't think, and I know people are enamored with him, and the Browns are too, and we should be. At least right now, Josh Dobbs he's going to be the backup for the foreseeable future. Now, maybe 4, 5, 6 games in, and this is where, okay, now we're not focused on practice, we're focused on games. Behind the scenes, if DTR, one thing that we know about him, we know he's athletic. He's also very, very smart and probably doesn't get enough credit for how smart he is in picking up the offense. Because this is a guy that, if you go back to the UCLA days, I mean, really from the get, he got it. He wasn't overwhelmed. He wasn't any of that stuff. So, maybe DTR at some point surpasses Josh Dobbs on the depth chart. It's not a huge deal, but right now it is all about Josh Dobbs. It is all about, him being, the backup. And DTR is going to start, I know, but let's not get too excited about pushing DTR into that role before it happens. It's hard not to see him play and be excited watching him play. I get all of that. But I think for the first few games, at least for the first month, it'll probably be Dobbs, maybe the entire season. As far as the offense as a whole, again, we're not talking about starters, so can you really get too – you can't. You can't get too excited. You can't get too down. I'm not focused on the score. Honestly, let's see some young guys continue to play well that are playing well as far as backups, and then let's see Cade York put it through the uprights. I don't think that's too much to ask. But we shall see. Rye, what are you looking for tonight?
You nailed it on the head. Cade York. It seems like he's got the yips, and the thing about the yips is there's only one way to fix it, is you got to play through it. It kind of reminds me of, remember when John Lester couldn't throw the ball to first? He would just be throwing it all over the place for a while, and he could never, I don't know, it was like one of the easiest throws in the world, but he was just in his head, and it reminds me of Cade York.
They call it Steve Blass disease. Pitchers where they just can't, find the plate. But now, second bit, Chuck Knobloch. Remember Chuck Knobloch? By the way, one of the best. I've told Bohm this. You kind of remember Chris Berman, right? Okay, the nickname guy. And so he referred to him as Chuck New Kids on Knobloch as his nickname. There's a band. Okay.
I know.
All right. I just wanted to make sure.
I couldn't tell you a single song by them,
no,
but
and
I've
you
definitely
should.
heard New
and
Kids
you
on
should.
the Block.
I mean, like, it's not one of those, like, it's, oh, my, now girls will disagree. They were the, I don't know what the band is today that young girls go crazy over, but you'd be at like a 9th grade dance back in the day. I would be. And as soon as like a New Kids on the Block song came on, girls would shriek. I mean, they were it. But yeah, that was his nickname, Chuck Knobloch. But he had that too. Like he just couldn't get the ball over to first base. And I'm not saying that Cade York has that. I'm just saying for our peace of mind, forget about Cade York's peace of mind, our peace of mind, fans, our peace of mind. If there's one thing that you should want and I think can reasonably expect, because this is going to be all backups, I would imagine, you're not going to show a whole lot. So it'll probably be, I could be dead wrong here, but I don't think Kevin Stefanski, he's been very methodical. He's always been very methodical. And certainly this training camp about how we're going to do things. And so, like, I can't see them or him getting pretty fancy as far as, so it's going to be vanilla, it's going to be boring, whatever. They're just trying to get out of there with no injuries. Let's be honest, no injuries. Get some good work in if we can, but Cade York, like, that's it. Like, that's the one thing fans can reasonably say. I want to see this guy get it through the uprights. If it's beyond 40 yards, that'd be even better, but just something to feel good about that. And for him, because then he sees it. It's kind of like the shooter in basketball. Well, he sees it go through the net. He sees it goes through the hoop. All right, everything's good now. And that's that. So, I mean, that's pretty much all I'm expecting. Now, I'm hearing next week against Kansas City. Normally, that would be a game, the final preseason game, that we don't pay attention to. But we're hearing that maybe they play a half. I mean, the starters are definitely going to play. Deshaun Watson, obviously, and I'm glad about this. I was talking about this a little bit yesterday. I realize it is what it is today. Okay, CBA, I can't blame Kevin Stefanski. I can't blame Jim Schwartz. This is what. And you notice they don't blame it either. It's the CBA. It's the new NFL. You either like it, you don't like it. It don't matter either way because it's what it is. So you're not going to get to hit like they used to. You're not going to get the time that you used to. You're not going to get the reps, all of that stuff. So guys, as I said yesterday, I'll say it again today. Nobody, and I mean nobody, is going to be full go, ready to go week 1 in the NFL. Nobody. Now, will teams like Kansas City be more prepared? Yeah, of course. And that's why one of many reasons why we hope the Cleveland Browns, and not just for fans because you deserve it, this is one reason why we hope the Cleveland Browns can get to that place where they have that winning culture. And Deshaun Watson is here for a while, and he's established himself. And, granted, he already did that a couple of seasons in Houston, but now he's the Browns quarterback. And, well, let's say Cedric Tillman. Hey, maybe we'll see some of him tonight. I can't get enough Cedric Tillman, to be honest with you. So, okay, say 3 years down the road from now, we're talking about, he and Ced are good. I mean, they don't need time together. Mahomes and Kelsey, I mean, do you think that they can go out there and throw the ball around for 15 minutes, be like, all right, we're ready for week 1? And that's exaggerating a bit. But this Browns team for next week against Kansas City, ironically playing the Chiefs, if they play a half, I wouldn't be surprised, and I certainly won't be against it. Because I think that is, I know that's a delicate balance. I know it's not an easy dance to do if you're Kevin Stefanski or any coach in the NFL, but let's face it. I mean, 3 out of the first 4 games, you're facing divisional opponents. the first game. You're facing the team to beat, along with the Chiefs in the AFC and the team to beat in your division. They're all the team to beat in the division when you're the Browns. But the season, you don't get to ramp up and just kind of gradually. The reality is you're not going to be at full go, but be as close to that as you possibly can, because figure if Joe Burrow does play, I still don't know what to think on that. But if Burrow plays in Cincinnati and you've got Baltimore and you've got Pittsburgh and I think Tennessee's the other one in those first 4 games, they're coming in and it's nobody's feeling sorry for anybody. Nobody's rolling over for anybody. Now the bullets are flying for real, and they're flying fast and furious and hard, and they're destroying people like that. The switch. I mean, Bernie was talking about it on the Bernie and Hanford show the other week, that he always, for him, he always wanted to play as much as he could. Now you protect coaches have to protect you against yourself, and you hear that a lot. But Bernie's reasoning is there's something to that. Like, hey, the difference and how quickly that switch gets flipped and how drastic that switch is and that change is from preseason to, regular season. Hey, it was still that way back in the 80s when Bernie and Hanford were suiting up. Now it's even more so, times about 50, because you can't do as much. Nowhere near as much. That's just the way it is. Roger Goodell cares about the players. No, he doesn't. He's afraid of getting his ass sued. That's why. But safety is our number one concern. It should be. I mean, that's a serious matter. But don't think for a second when Raj stands in front of you and goes, our players are our number one priority, and their safety is what I toss and turn about all night long. Our front offices, our owners are held to a higher standard. There's a BS detector just going off in the background. Oh. What was that like? All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, let's do a little fair foul with Ryan and maybe some Browns, some Eagles, and maybe somebody with rabbit ears? No, I thought we were done with that. We'll talk about it when we come back. It's the Chico Bormann Show. More to come right here on the Big Play Sports Network. Alrighty, welcome back as we roll through it on a Thursday edition of the Chico Bormann Show here on the Big Play Sports Network. Glad to have you along. Intern Ryan in for Mr. Bombastic. He will be back next week. Again, I keep saying I haven't heard from him, so I that can be good and it can be horrible. But I'm assuming the best for Bohm, that he's rocking out. He has groupies. And he's having the time of his life.
I did see a video of him on Twitter hammering that guitar. He looked good.
Yeah, I've said before, not to get too down this road, but and he agrees. Like when he does his late night jam sessions, he's very good. I mean, he's very good on his guitar and music. He has a passion for it like nothing else. When he really gets like halfway into like a session, if you just looked at his face, I'm gonna watch my words here. It looks like he's in a certain kind of movie. Like if you just saw his facial expression, like he's like, he gets really, really into it. What if I did that with his hat on? All right, let's not go there. All right, it is time for a little fair or foul as we get ready for the Browns and Eagles tonight. Preseason game number 3, 2, whatever. So, Ryan, what do you got for us on this Thursday, buddy?
Alrighty, first fair or foul for you, Chico. Fair or foul? Jalen Carter was the biggest steal of the first round in this year's NFL draft.
Can we really answer that right now? I mean, yeah. I mean, look, there were a few of these guys that I think, and by the way, the quarterbacks, nobody knows how that's going to play out. I think you always look at guys that drop, and he was one. Like you always look at guys that drop because of red flags, because of, in his case, didn't he have, what was it, did he have the driving thing?
Yeah, I think he was involved in
a couple things, if I'm not mistaken. But nobody doubted. See, that's the thing. Nobody doubted his talent. It's kind of like, this isn't a good comparison, but Perion Winfrey, right? Like Perion Winfrey, you're not just all Big 12 by accident. But in the end, can Jalen Carter and others, they're not choir boys. They're not robots. They are humans, so they're going to make mistakes. But by and large, Jalen Carter, all these guys that get drafted, do they ultimately get in their head like, okay, I've got to not be perfect, but my focus is solely on football, and this is going to be what and why am I playing? Because I love it, because I got money and all that stuff. But if you're doing it and you're just kind of like, I kind of enjoy it, it's a nice paycheck, but I'm not really, you're not going to last long. I mean, obviously, we don't need a documentary to tell us that, which we won't go into any further details. But, So, I mean, Jalen Carter, we knew had talent on one of the best defenses in the country. I guess I'll go fair for these purposes, but we might want to wait until the season starts before we say who was the biggest steal and whatnot.
Alrighty, fair or foul. David Njoku will set a new career high with 5 or more touchdowns this season.
I'm going to go fair on that. Kind of one of those under-the-radar stories that we've been hearing, that he has just been – there's 2 things that we have gotten out of camp. 2 guys that have been basically, on another level. Myles Garrett, of course, and David Njoku. And, you think about when they drafted David Njoku a few years back, and then they gave him the extension. And, like, this guy, he hadn't played a whole lot of football when he was at Miami. He's a freak athlete. He still is a freak athlete. Granted, the position is trending that way anyway, but I think Njoku, you're waiting for that pairing, and hopefully Deshaun Watson is that guy. So far, so great during camp. Deshaun's finding him. Nobody's covering him, too. But imagine now, okay, in addition to Amari Cooper, Elijah Moore, now you really have to pay attention to 85, which you do anyway. But if he has a big season and he becomes a focal point, That guy in the backfield's going to, I mean, it could be, off the top explosive. David Njoku, I'll go fair on that. I think he goes more than that. With the balls that are going to be in the air, we already know he's a red zone target, but I think just targets, period. So, yeah, I'll go fair on that.
Alrighty, if you were on Twitter yesterday, you probably saw a Deshaun tweet. So let me ask you this. Fair or foul, Chico? Deshaun tweeting at Cleveland media is a cause for concern.
Yeah. I'm going to go fair. And I know people will say, well, I mean, Baker did it. Yeah, and I didn't like when Baker did it either. And I largely kind of was a guy that said, well, let's give him a little bit. But, and I don't know if it was Cleveland media or if it was like a Cleveland media guy or gal saying what he heard from a Philadelphia reporter. And I think it was largely a compliment. I think what they said was, Deshaun Watson looked good, but like when it came to like 11 on 11s, he wasn't great. And, this just in, $230 million guaranteed. Like they're expecting him. We're all expecting him to be great. I don't like that. Like why even? It's not like somebody crushed him. It's not like somebody said this guy's going to be a bust and $230 million. You might as well just flush it down the toilet. They just said that in 11 on 11s he hasn't been great. The offense hasn't been great. That's what we're hearing. So if he's getting, I don't want to say upset, and I don't want to go back to like Baker. It's not that, because he works his ass off. Like that's one thing about Deshaun Watson, and I've said from the beginning when the Browns got him, look, people are going to have their own opinions, and they're entitled to those opinions on how they feel about him and what he allegedly did and all that stuff. The quarterback, he can play the position. He works hard, and he kind of strikes me as a guy where he's kind of relaxed, right? He kind of like, I'm just focused on football. So why he like quote tweeted? What exactly did he tweet?
He tweeted the cap emoji, basically saying that it was false that the Eagles got the better of him during 11 on 11s.
So he tweeted the cap. I'm not familiar with what a cap emoji is.
So basically, the cap, it's like a blue cap emoji, and basically that's saying what, in response to what they put the cap, is basically saying that it's a lie and that it's not true.
Is it like this cap?
It's exactly like that cap.
Like this cap?
Deshaun Watson was calling cap.
You know what this reminds me of, too? It reminds me of when Curly from the Three Stooges shot a skunk, and he just then wore the skunk on his head. So this is the, no, you guys.
So anytime someone says something you don't agree with, or Nick puts out a tweet that you're like, just come on, that's when you got to put on the cap.
So I put on the cap, and the cap means that's BS?
It means basically it's BS if that's not true.
Learn something new every day. I didn't even know there was a cap emoji. Now, and I know I use emoji, so I don't want to. You guys can't crush me on this one, but I did not know there was a cap emoji. I would, if you say cap emoji, my mind immediately goes like salary cap emoji.
So it's just like a blue baseball hat, basically.
Just kind of like this one, just
exactly.
a little bit bigger.
Just
a little bit bigger.
A little bit bigger.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't know about you. I'm curious. I want your thoughts on this because, social media is, and I'm not saying like don't look at it. It is what it is. Again, this is the day and age, and this is what it is. But come on, man. Like, I guess what bothers me is it wasn't really anything that was said that should have been really abrasive or he should have found offensive. But then on top of it, why the hell is he even paying attention to it? I know you have people around you that sometimes follow that stuff. I don't know.
So what was interesting, though, your point, it wasn't really a shot at him. In the same tweet that he quoted, the guy said that, Watson has an incredible arm and he's been capable of making some amazing throws. Just overall the day, maybe the Eagles defense took the win against him. But yeah, I'm not a fan of it. I'm not going to pretend that, I'll ever be in that position. I have that much talent, but I'd like to think that I would much prefer I let my game talk and not really listen to outside noise.
Okay, and let's just I'm not hitting panic mode here, but we're a long way from, remember Wednesday mandatory minicamp, that the second day when it was just, Dart City. And yeah, like this guy's basically saying like, yeah, this guy can throw darts, but when we've, from what we can tell, from what's being reported, red zone drills, 11 on 11. And I know, okay, again, you don't have some of your starters there, and it's a whole different ballgame, but it hasn't looked seamless. I don't think it's, like I said, I don't think it's reason for panic, but make no mistake. Ryan, I don't have to tell you this, and I certainly don't have to tell the fans out there this. If the offense stalls out and they look bad and they look, disjointed, which could happen, I can guarantee you he's going to be hearing much worse than, wow, he's got a great arm, he's throwing darts, but in 11 on 11s, he didn't look particularly great, or the offense didn't look particularly great. If that's bothering him, so yeah, I'm going to say fair. I'm a little bit nervous because it doesn't seem like that's something Deshaun Watson would do. And maybe I'm not going to pretend I know him, but it just doesn't seem like that's Deshaun Watson's cup of tea.
Alrighty, back to the Browns. Chico, fair or foul? Kevin Stefanski is in the top 5 for coaches with the hottest seat.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't. You go around and talk about who are some of the other coaches, but I don't even need to. They need to do well. They need to. And I don't want to. Here's the thing. I brought this up. Bowman and I were talking about this last week, a couple weeks ago. This is why I don't always like the answers that owners give, but some of the standard answers of we're not going to put a number on it is right. Like, it's stupid to say, well, so Jimmy and D, if he gets to 9 wins, is he fired? If he gets to 11, is he safe? Like, if they win 10 games, we already know the AFC is completely loaded. Okay, the AFC North is loaded. Yeah, Cincinnati's the favorite. Baltimore's in there. Cleveland's in there. Hell, Pittsburgh's even getting a few votes. I still don't believe in Kenny Pickett altogether, but who knows? But if let's say they go 10-7, they don't make the playoffs. Does that mean he's fired? I'll say this. If they go 10-7, but the shenanigans, and I don't think I need to explain that any further, the shenanigans, the culture, the, finger pointing, all that sort of thing, if that's continuing, and we're talking about disjointed and disorganized and flags after a timeout for 12 men on the field, then yeah, he's probably gone. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think they're going to be okay. I just don't know if it means playoffs because, like I said, the AFC is, wow. To say it's top-heavy is an understatement.
Alrighty, Chico. This one is a little bit of predicting the future, but fair or foul?
Well, that's why I have this hat on.
Our boy Cade York will miss a field goal today in Philadelphia.
Hang on a second. I'm getting the... Oh.
Are the vibes strong right now? What are you feeling, Chico?
So I've got him going 2 for 3. He misses a 49-yarder, but it's sandwiched in between. Hang on. It's sandwiched in between 2 makes. You know what this feels like? It feels like, when you got the helmet on and the quarterback's trying to hear over the crowd.
Yeah. You kind of look like a pirate.
Yeah, I look like an idiot. I look like a complete jackass. I'll say it, but what's dangerous is I'm not realizing I have it on, and then I happen to glance at the screen, and I look like an idiot. So I apologize for anybody that's actually seeing this. Cade York. I don't want to get too crazy and say, well, he's got to show us something tonight. We're not asking for a lot. Like I said, if they get blown out tonight, I don't care. It's a bunch of backups and whatever. But the one thing I want to see is Cade York split the uprights. And if he can do it from 45 plus, great. Just get it through. And for no other reason because, I don't care what he says. his confidence right now has to be a bit shaken. So when his confidence is good, it's kind of like when they say in a household, like, if mama ain't happy, nobody's happy. If the kicker ain't confident, nobody's confident. The coach ain't confident. Fans aren't confident. So, but yeah, I've got him with the mushroom. Yeah, he makes 2 out of 3 tonight.
Okay, let me ask you this though, Chico. Let's say Cade York makes a 58-yarder, something awesome, right? That we've seen him kick from that far before, but he misses a like 25-yarder wide right. What I know what the instant reactions are going to be, but what do you think the real outcome of like a scenario like that will be?
Right now, okay, I think there will be. It would be largely criticism because, and I'm going to say justifiably so, because nobody's doubting the kid's leg. I mean, he's got an incredible leg, but at this level, it's sink or swim. There's it's a pass or fail class, like. Basically, and because, he was drafted and he's the only guy and you want to see it. You don't want to be going into opening day with the same fears or concerns that we have right now about Cade York. And by the way, there are 2 guys. Well, Robbie Gould, I believe, is out there. And I'm not calling for him yet. I'm just saying Robbie Gould's out there. I think Mason Crosby used to kick for Green Bay. I think he's out there. The problem is, though, like, let's say okay, now let's go the other way. I'll present you a hypothetical. He has a horrible game. He misses 3, including a chippy. Are you bringing in one of those? You don't want to, and the reality is, like, hey, we've got other positions and we've got guys that are hurt. But do you then panic and go, we need to see, like, is he? I don't think they're going to make that move, but I think it at least crosses their minds if he goes out tonight and just has a horrible game.
If he goes something like 0 for 3, like you said, and chips a 28, 30-yarder, people are going to be screaming for him to be cut straight up.
I don't want to talk about that. It's making my.
All right, well, let's be optimists tonight.
Maybe that's because of the hat.
Maybe he, like you said, he's gonna sandwich a miss in between 2 makes. So let's see if the hat knows the future. But anyway, 2 more fair fouls for you, Chico. Yep. Fair or foul? NFL.com's Eric Hedholm's preseason ranking of the Browns at number 13 is just right.
Ooh, our buddy Eric Hedholm. Yeah, with NFL.com. Yeah, I was actually, I thought it might be a little bit lower. I mean, we've had Eric on the show and Will coming up here soon. I mean, he said a lot of what we've said. Like, the talent's there, and, it's largely everybody's write-up. Everybody's write-up is going to be, well, can Deshaun Watson find the 2020 form? Now, we know that it's more than that, but yeah, it's... If he's not Deshaun Watson or a close facsimile thereof from 2020, they're in trouble. They're in big trouble. But I think that, 13, I would say that's pretty. If you think about all the other, remember Adam Rank from ESPN had him 6 and 11, and you would have thought, like, I bet you he had a few death threats. Like, I'm not saying that lightly, or like people. I don't know why people get so hung up on preseason predictions. I do know, because in this town we're very sensitive, and it's been a rough go, and that's not the fans' fault. But yeah, 13 I think is about right. I really do. I think they should be in the top half of the league, certainly with what their payroll is, and where that money's devoted to, and just the talent alone. But as we found out many times here in Cleveland, it's not one on paper or fantasy league or a video game.
Yeah. There you go, Toad. Yeah, I agree, though. I honestly thought they would have been a bit lower. Like, they're certainly obviously capable of it, and they're capable of being a top 10 team. We hope, of course. But yeah, I was surprised. I didn't think they proved anything really enough yet for them to be that high, but certainly their ceiling is capable of being a top 10, hopefully top 5 team in the NFL this year. So it'll be interesting to see. But last fair foul, Chico.
Yes.
Fair or foul? Andy Reid is a top 5 head coach of all time.
Oh man, I hate because again, we're going different eras, and I'll say fair because I mean, you think about even when he didn't get Super Bowls, like they were always. Yeah, I'll go fair on that. I think he's a great coach. Obviously, you can say, well, it helps when you have a great quarterback. Yeah, well, I mean, Belichick might go down as the best ever, and I'm not saying that's not deserved, but does it help? You have, of course. I mean, Bill Walsh, Joe Montana. I mean, Vince Lombardi, Bart Starr. Like, yeah, these guys, you're kind of linked that way. But I think when it's all said and done, because here's the thing. I don't think he's retiring anytime soon. So you want to bet against Kansas City winning this year or the year after, as long as 15 is taking snaps under center. So, yeah, I'll say when it's all said and done, he's top 5, and he might even be top 5 right now. Certainly in the league right now, he's top 5. But those lists are so tough because you go back to Paul Brown and, I mean, all of them. Chuck Noll. It's a laundry list. Tom Landry. So many great coaches. So it's tough to say, but he's in that conversation, we'll say.
So I was watching Get Up this morning, and a stat from them. If the Chiefs do, in fact, go back-to-back, win another Super Bowl, the only 2 coaches in NFL history to have been to 5 Super Bowls and win 3 of them will be Belichick and Reid.
That's a pretty good stat right there. Yeah, and I mean that's, like it or not, that's how these guys are measured. What quarterbacks are measured, head coaches are measured. But yeah, that would be. I mean, when you're talking elite company, that's huge. I think Andy Reid was great even before this, and I know that's, it's easy to say and whatever, but yeah, I think this is just putting the exclamation point on it. Like, yeah, this guy's clearly one of the best coaches ever. All right, that is fair or foul. When we come back, I may or may not have this hat. Maybe I'll put on Bernie's helmet. No, we're not. This isn't just change hat day. Ryan, you may remember the other day you and I went through the AFC East, or excuse me, the entire AFC. That would be North, South, East, West. Now we're going to do NFC in terms of surprises, and it can be either way. A team that is expected or there's a lot of hype around that expected to do well that won't, or a team that nobody's talking about that might win. We're going to do that NFC style when we come back. It is the Chico Bormann Show, hanging with you till 1. 216-626-7901. Stream us live on Twitter at Chico Show, CLE. Also on YouTube, Chico Bormann Show. Hit subscribe if you're not subscribing already. We'll be back with more right here on the Big Play Sports Network. All righty, welcome back. It is the Chico Bormann Show as we already did roll into the second hour. You know, time's just flying because we're just having so much fun, or at least I am. And I don't know if you people are having to see me in that hat. I was just telling Brian during the break, I feel like that thing, it feels like a mascot hat. Like it's hot. It's bulky. In the winter,
think you're not giving yourself enough credit, Chico. I think you wear it pretty well.
Maybe this is my winter hat, because obviously with that, that's going to get a little cold, right? The wind coming off that lake right outside our windows here at Burke Lakefront Airport. You put this thing on, it's like Costanza putting on that Gore-Tex coat. Nothing's going to get to me. All right. So the other day, Ryan, we had fun. Going with, everybody's either done it or going to do it. The predictions, we're to that point now where you've exhausted, all of your picks, your surprises, your sleepers, your busts, and now you got fantasy drafts coming up and all that good stuff. But now we're getting close to the start of the season, thank God. But the other day, we did surprises for the AFC. Went through each division, East, North, South, West. And said what we, again, surprises, like I don't want to hear, I think the Bills are going to win the AFC East. I think mine was for that one, the Jets are going to be a lot worse than people realize. I could be dead wrong on that. I just think the O-line they're going to have issues there. So it has to be a surprise, but a surprise either way, a good team not doing so well, or we think is going to be a good team not doing so well, or the opposite, not getting enough pub and may just downright win the division. So would you like to start things off there, Mr. Intern Ryan?
I'd love to. What division you want to start with, Chico?
I'll tell you what. We'll just go chronologically as they're listed. NFC East, the Commanders, the Giants, the Cowboys. How about them Cowboys and the Eagles?
So for me, I feel like this division, I think it's the most chalk out of them. I think Philadelphia is definitely going to win. I think the Commanders are going to be last. And Dallas and New York is interesting because Dallas always seems like they have the potential to win the division, be a top 5 offense. But I don't know, Chico. I want to give a good surprise, but to me, this division I think is just so chalk. I think it's top to bottom, easily Philly, Dallas, and then a little gap, New York, and then a big gap, Washington at this point.
So I'm tempted. That's a fair answer. It's not a good answer because, I want you to go on a limb. You didn't do that, but that's okay. But it's a fair answer, and I understand why you said it. I'm tempted to say that Dallas, much like the Jets in the AFC East, are not going to be anywhere near as – and I don't think people are picking Dallas for the Super Bowl or anything, but their defense is incredible. They're actually saying Micah Parsons now he's taking it to another level, which if you're, opposing offenses, if you're Daniel Jones, even Jalen Hurts, as great as he is, you're like, oh my God. The guy's a nightmare. So the Dallas defense is going to be outstanding. Dak Prescott, even when Dak was going well, and he was good, but I think it was kind of overhyped because it was the Cowboys and because, he did have the whole, the money situation and will they or won't they, buy into him and all of that stuff. But now, Tony Pollard's a good back, but now you're a number one guy. CeeDee Lamb's a great weapon. They did lose Dalton Schultz, their tight end. I don't know what to expect from Dallas's offense. And this is a big if Dak Prescott really has to carry the load, and he's the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, you say, well, of course he has to, but if he really has to carry the load, I think Dallas could be in trouble. Their defense is one of the best in football. So I guess that's gonna be mine. I'm gonna say Dallas is kind of in the same ballpark as the New York Jets, where they struggle on the offensive side of the ball more than we think, and they're nowhere near like a playoff team or a playoff caliber team.
Did you know, Chico, that Dak Prescott has the record for the highest passer rating for a rookie quarterback ever?
Look at you just dropping DYKs out there. Did you know? No, I did not know that. For a rookie, what was this? Do you have the percentage?
I can get it real quick. It's probably...
That's all right. I was just curious if you had it up. Well, I would not have guessed that. That is a very good. So you're going to be out and about with all your fans and girls this weekend. You can use that on some of your buddies too.
His passer rating rookie year was 104.9.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty good. See, yeah, I can see you, like one of your buddies. You've got your eye on a gal, and one of your buddies is trying to move in, and then you just say, hey, you know who has the highest rookie passer rating ever? Then he's going to be like, I don't know. And then she doesn't want any part of that. She's like, oh, Ryan.
And then I'm going to hit him with, whose record he broke?
Dan Marino.
RG3.
We forget. Yeah, we forget. I remember that opening day. I was covering the Browns, obviously, in a galaxy far, far away. And Robert, like every highlight, it was like, because he threw a great deep ball. I mean, we forget about that. Spent some time in Cleveland here, a little cup of coffee. But, wow, look at you, double DYK.
I'm known as the trivia man amongst my group of friends. As I said, I do host trivia every Tuesday.
Where do you do this at?
I do it the bar. It's recently new. It's called Ground Zero. It's like a pop gastro pub in Northfield Center.
I might just show up unannounced.
Chico, I would be ear to ear smiling if I saw you walk through those doors.
What if I show up with this?
Well, in that case, I don't know you.
And I'm like, bring on the trivia, big boy.
I have faith you do pretty darn good.
All right, let's continue on here. Surprises. We moved to the NFC North. The Lions, the Packers, the Bears, the Vikings. Boy, oh boy. The NFC, you look at the AFC and you're like, there's so many great teams. And for a while, it was the opposite, right? But the AFC is as loaded. It's as loaded as it's ever been. And I think it's even more loaded than the NFC has ever been. Like, it's crazy. And now you look at the NFC. I mean, Philadelphia is great. And, I think obviously they're going to be in the mix. Bold prediction. But like Detroit Lions, now it feels like last year they were the sexy pick. And it was a good pick because, Dan Campbell's got him going, and most importantly, he got Jared Goff got it figured out, more confidence, and they were clicking. But they're another team that, if they struggled this year, it wouldn't shock me. I don't want them to because I kind of like Dan Campbell, but between injuries, suspensions, they. Do I want to say Detroit? I don't know if I want to say Detroit. I'll tell you what. You know what I'll say? Here we go. Chicago Bears win the NFC North. Chicago Bears win the NFC North. And I know immediately somebody's going, oh, man, this is Bohm, Homer, Justin Fields. It's not that. They've been, if I've been reading up. Now, granted, it's preseason, so it doesn't mean shit. But their defenses look pretty darn good. And I think their defense will be good, and I think their offense will be better. Justin Fields, they continue to add Khalil Herbert. Yeah, it's Green Bay. Minnesota, I'm not sold on. Last year, they were the most overrated. And even though it wasn't, I know it's easy to say now because they were one and done. But even when they were 11 wins and they were at 11-3, nobody, then they got blown out. Wasn't it by the Cowboys? They got hammered. And a lot of people are just that makes sense. Minnesota didn't seem that great. I don't think they're going to be horrible, but I don't think they're going to be very good. I'll go the Bears win the NFC North. Take that, Windy City. There you go. What's yours?
Well, before I jump into mine, Chico, like you said about the Vikings, 13 wins last year. Do you know what their point differential for the whole season was?
Look at you with you are a trivia man. Look, you can't turn trivia off in your brain.
It's all I can think about. I watch Jeopardy every night.
All right, what is it?
-3 with 13 wins.
All right, now you need to expand that trivia mind of yours and say, has there ever been a team that won as many as 13 games that had a negative? It can't be.
I feel like I don't even have to look it up because I can't imagine that's ever been repeated.
That game against Dallas didn't help. I mean, wasn't that like 48-3? Or I'm exaggerating, but it was a horrible, horrible loss. And I like Kirk Cousins. I mean, I like especially that. I don't know if you watched any of the quarterback series. Peyton Manning's the producer. I love that show this year. It was very, very good. And Kirk Cousins is a good dude, but like, I don't know what direction they're in, and they had to completely retool the defense. I don't know.
Yeah, the Cowboys beat the Vikings 40-3.
40-3. I knew it was right around there. Yeah, I'll go Bears in the NFC North.
Okay, NFC North. I'm going to go Detroit wins the division. I feel like that's not a crazy pick, but I will go on to say they win their first playoff game since, I think, 2030 or something like that.
Okay.
Fun fact, another tidbit of knowledge for you. John F. Kennedy, since he's been dead, has only missed one Lions playoff win. Just one.
I feel like there are so many Browns.
Yeah, as a Browns fan, I'm not supposed to be throwing around this.
Granted, they did get their way. I don't, but like, yeah, I'm still kind of like, yeah, I don't want to start, putting my chest out because it wasn't that long ago that you turned on the Late Show and they were like, hey, anybody need a butt of a joke? All right, we'll go to the Browns. But yeah, that's, wow. I like that. I'll tell you what, not necessarily winning the division isn't that bold. It's bold, but I like the playoff win. All right, I'll give you some credit there. You kind of just dipped your toe in the water with the NFC East, but you got a little bold there in the NFC North. I like it. NFC South, Saints, Falcons, Buccaneers, Panthers. Your thoughts on the NFC South? Who's your surprise?
Yeah, this is probably the worst division of football at the moment. I'm going to say Tampa Bay finishes last. I think New Orleans takes it. And then I'm going to go Carolina over Atlanta. I think Bryce Young, I think he's going to have a solid rookie. He's my pick for rookie of the year, which isn't crazy, but I'm not a fan. I'm not sold on Atlanta at all. I'm not a big fan of the coaching, their philosophy, running the ball a zillion times, although Bijan Robinson, they're going to have a case for it now. I think he's one of the most talented runners I've seen come out of college in a while, maybe since Saquon himself. But I have Tampa Bay in the basement. Coaching, not good. Baker, not good. Mike Evans, old. Chris Godwin, hurt.
You stole mine. That was mine. I was going to have Tampa last in the division. I'll kind of adjust on the fly here. First of all, let me comment on the Atlanta stuff because I don't necessarily mind. I know everybody made a huge deal about, well, Detroit. I mean, they jettisoned their back and then brought in, what was it, Montgomery, and then they drafted Jahmyr Gibbs, who I think could be a fantasy alert, could be great. When Bijan Robinson was drafted, was it 6th overall or whatever? Sixth. He's a stud. I mean, I agree with you. He's one of the best backs we've seen coming out of college. He can do it all. We've seen some video of that, him catching passes. He's ridiculous. But like, if you're Atlanta and you make that pick, if I'm a fan of the Falcons, like, yeah, I mean, just on talent alone, and you say, well, best player available, but that's one of those situations where I know we always hear that best player available, and yes, sometimes it sticks, but usually it's best player available, and okay, what do we need? Atlanta's got a lot of holes, and I feel like, you ran the ball a ton last year. You had success. I'm not saying Algier is Bijan Robinson. I realize he's a special talent, but I feel like there were so many other guys that you could have targeted that were positions of need. I'm not sure about that. I'm really not sure about that. And I actually, like, Arthur Smith is one of those guys that I thought was going to be, and maybe he still will be, great. And you say, like, you don't like the running philosophy. In a way, he's probably trying to take some pressure off. Last year it was Mariota. Your boy, Desmond Ritter, as Bowman and I like to say from PT. That's your boy. What about your boy, Desmond Ritter?
I love Desmond Ritter. Don't get me wrong. Absolutely love him, but...
So, I mean, if I'm Desmond Ritter or last year Marcus Mariota, I'm kind of thankful that was Arthur Smith's philosophy because, I'm not going to have to go out there and carry the team, as is usually the case with young QBs like Ritter. Gosh. Tampa last, that was mine. I'll tell you what. New Orleans will win, and New Orleans will win a playoff game. Derek Carr revived. Now, none of this like fake revive, like, oh, yeah, in Vegas, there, it was, he really did get the short end of the stick. And I'm not, like, Derek Carr is not great. I'm not saying that he's going to blossom. He's going to be an incredible talent for New Orleans. But I think it's going to be a great change of scenery. I think, obviously, I think from a confidence standpoint, I think they're going to win a playoff game. They're going to be a lot better than people imagine. And Chris Olave, yes, this is a Buckeye homer call, but Olave might very well have a better season than Garrett Wilson.
I love Chris Olave. I think he's capable.
Smooth.
I think he's capable of being, honestly, with Derek Carr, who loved to hyperfixate on targets. You look at what he did with Devontae Adams last year. I'm not confident, but I say it's a very realistic possibility Chris Olave is top 5 in the league in yards.
Could this be, for somebody listening or viewing this, is somebody in your fantasy league going, that was a tell from intern Ryan? He is targeting Chris Olave in our fantasy league. Are you in a fantasy league?
I am. So I've actually been the commissioner of our league this is the 7th year now. I have the draft every year at my house. But tough luck for them, because if they want Chris Olave, they're going to have to trade for him, because we actually already had our draft, and he's definitely on my team.
You already had your draft.
And I know that sounds crazy, but the reason we do it is because we had it on August 6th this year. And the reason we do it so early is because we love doing it in person, but we got a couple people who have to go back to school, people who are moving for jobs. So we did it a little early this year because it might unfortunately be the last year that we're realistically able to get all 12 guys together.
Okay, so this is what I will say then about your Olave prediction. Much like people can say for me, but I mean, Olave is damn good, as is Garrett Wilson. But yours now, when he's on your fantasy team, everybody looks at their fantasy team and says, like, you could have Desmond Ritter as your quarterback, and you'd be like, nah, you know what? I think Ritter, you remember how, Brett Favre blossomed with, Atlanta. He didn't get along with Glanville, but then he went to the, like, that could be, he could be another Brett. Like, that's just, you make yourself believe that. Now, Olave is legit good. But hearing that he's on your fantasy team, you have an overwhelming bias for him. After this segment, by the way, before we end the show, I will need, like, your fantasy roster. And by the way, folks, just a little teaser. Our buddy Eric Casilius with CBS Sports does that the gambling show for the CBS Sports Network. He's used to be on the Fantasy Live thing on ESPN. He's been around a while. Good buddy of mine. He's going to be coming on every Thursday during the season, and we'll be doing Stardom Situm for your lineups. So, obviously Thursday night football, and have them in by then. But yeah, EK will be joining us each and every Thursday. So I thought I'd pass that along. All right. So that's the NFC South. We really didn't have anything great. The NFC's boring. The NFC, now we're to the NFC West. The Seahawks, the Cardinals, the Rams. I mean, Niners, okay, but quarterback situation. The NFC sucks. Like, there's no real... The Eagles are great. It's like, I think if you're the NFC, do you just say, all right, you know what? Since Roger Goodell really does, we'll put it to the test. Roger Goodell's all about player safety. Let's not play 17. Let's play a couple. Philly, San Fran. You're going to meet in the NFC Championship game, and that's it. Because nobody else is contending there. And I know this is all about surprise, so I should pick one and go, oh, no, the Giants. But no. It's Philly, it's San Fran, unless they have, this whole quarterback situation, which, by the way, now I can come full circle with this. We'll get to your surprise, by the way, and mine. I don't even know what my surprise is now for the NFC West. But remember when they made the deal and it was speculation. Do they want Trey Lance? Is it Mac Jones? Is it, so, but because it was San Francisco and because it was John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, and Kyle Shanahan's a great, great coach, incredible offensive mind, and John Lynch was a hell of a player. But it was for a while like San Francisco and those guys in particular could do no wrong. Like they were just, so like when they got that Solomon, I can't think of his last name, from Stanford. They drafted him early, and then they took the chance on Reuben Foster. Remember the linebacker out of Alabama? Speaking of slips in the draft, he had the red flag. He was waiting for his physical and blew a gasket in the waiting room because he had to wait. Like, you're in the waiting room, dude. This old lady needs to be checked. No, I'm Reuben Foster. Sit your ass down. But, like, it was, look, they got a steal. Look at San Francisco. Now, all of a sudden, you look at those picks. They haven't really panned out. Not really. They haven't panned out. And then Trey Lance is, I don't know. Like, can he even play in the league?
I don't know. He just can't be healthy, which is such a shame because the upside he had, and it still could be there with his legs.
But I don't know.
I don't know either, Chico.
I mean, he might not. You weren't getting vibes of confidence whenever he would practice or get. It was like, yeah, he had a couple nice moments. I mean, I'm talking like reporters that are covering it, that are objective, and they're like, he hasn't like wowed anybody. You gave up a king's ransom for this dude. So let me just rant on that for a second because I like John Lynch, I like Kyle Shanahan, but my God, we made them out to be like some dynasty duo of a front office with those picks, and now the perfect example of wait until, these guys play out and you give it a few years and then you see. Like, Reuben Foster, people are going to be regretting the day that they passed on Reuben. Yeah, okay, whatever. Yeah, I guess. Okay, here goes. The Arizona Cardinals will win. No, no, they won't. Do I dare pick Seattle to win the NFC West? No, I can't. I can't even do that. You know what? The NFC, we should have just had this only for the AFC. This is on me. I wanted to do, but the NFC can't cooperate. The NFC is so boring. It's so, and I know we look at the AFC with all of the great teams. Like, I don't expect them to be loaded. But seriously, does anybody, who's everybody's pick for the NFC Championship game? I mean, I'm not saying there's not a team that you can make a case. That's all fun, right? Like, oh, well, this team's going to get on a run. The Giants are all of a sudden Daniel Jones, Saquon's, is going to go off, and they're going to. So who knows? But
the easy answer is obviously the 49ers and Eagles, but that's that. And with the NFC, right? There's only a handful, maybe not even, besides Philadelphia and 49ers, that I could sit here and legit feel confident in an argument that they could possibly even make the NFC Championship.
Yeah, it's God. The NFC's terrible. Like, I don't even like looking at the standings just for this exercise. Like, because it's like you go through and you say, all right, Commanders, Giants, Cowboys, Lions, Packers, Bears, Saints, Falcons, but it's just yuck. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, just a couple of minutes. Intern Ryan said he already had his fantasy draft, and he's the commissioner for his league, so I'm sure he has a lot of Goodellisms. I'm sure I can see Ryan being like, with the second pick.
Oh, you're damn right.
And you have to, if you're a commissioner of a fantasy football league, the NFL, you have to be a hypocrite like Roger. So you have to say we're concerned about player safety. So I don't care if it's going to hurt my team. I want Chris Olave or others, find out who else is on his team. I want these guys to be healthy and safe, when deep down you're like, just get in there, damn it. It's amazing.
Chico, I'll tell you this. I let fantasy, it either makes my week the best week ever, or I am fully depressed for a full 7 days. And and people think that's an exaggeration, but it truly dictates my mood for a whole week.
And okay, if we're going to be honest about this, I'll bet you 40% of the people that play fantasy football feel the same way.
Absolutely.
It's incredible. All right, we'll take a break. We'll hear what intern Ryan did. Chris Olave, we already know. So any predictions for Olave getting like 26 touchdowns from here on out? You already know that it's an extreme bias because he has him on his team.
No, first of all, let me say he's not. I don't think he's going to go or I don't think he has a chance to be top 5 in
look
yards.
How serious you are already.
He's on my team because I think he's capable of being top 5 in yards.
See how I could totally see you being this way during the season now, because you're. I'm making a joke about it later. You're like, wait a minute. Hey, wait a minute. Before we go to break, I got to say something. I don't think. We'll be back with more. Wrapping it up, the Chico Bormann Show. Eagles, Browns tonight. Only guy we're paying attention to is a kicker. In the words of Todd Haley, way to go, you bleeping kicker. We'll be back with more of the Chico Bormann Show right here on the Big Play Sports Network. All right, welcome back. See, this is normally I would say, damn it, Ryan, you're new, you've got to be paying attention, you've got to learn, but it's my fault because it was fantasy geeking out to the nth degree. Welcome back, everybody. It's Chico Bormann Show, closing moments here on this Thursday. Browns, Eagles tonight. You're not going to see the starters. You will see the starters. From what we're hearing, nothing's confirmed, and again, Kevin Stefanski, all of this is under wraps. But we're hearing that the starters are definitely going to play in that final preseason game, which is usually you don't hear that at all. Could they play for upwards of a half? We shall see against Kansas City. But as for tonight, no. They had their work this week, Monday and Tuesday with the joint practices in Philly. They'll play the Eagles tonight, but it's going to be all backups. The backups, you say, well, yeah, hey, you get a chance to see some more of these young guys, which is true. Keep in mind, though, they didn't really practice that much. They did, but not so much. It was focused on the ones. That's why you have the joint practices. But Cade York, please make kicks. Please make kicks. Like, I don't even want to think about, and I won't. I'll tell you right now. If he misses his first attempt, God forbid his first couple, if he gets a couple of attempts, I'm not going on Twitter. I'm not. Like, it'll be, oh my God, it'll be ugly. And you say, well, it's preseason, but I'm telling you, like, okay, you can say, don't be so dramatic, don't be so dramatic, don't be so dramatic, only to a point. This is a kicker on what is supposed to be a playoff caliber team from a talent standpoint on paper. Boy, that's a lot. Isn't it going to be nice to just say a playoff team and not on paper, but that's what we have to say.
Haven't we been that the last 3 years?
Yeah, unfortunately. All right, anyway, so we'll be recapping that tomorrow, hopefully talking all just glowing things about Cade York. I'll put, like, York on this hat and wear it tomorrow on the show. All right. So if you're just tuning in, we got these hats in. I don't know who's responsible for ordering merchandise, but this is what came. And I had to make an executive decision. Bernie's helmet. I'm going to contact Bernie. This is Bernie, really, Bernie Kosar's rookie season, his helmet. That 19 sticker on the back, you can kind of... Usually this is perched to my right, and I feel safe with it. You know, everybody knows. I don't fanboy like Fanboy Nick, but there was one that, like, growing up as a kid, I didn't even wear it like a jersey. I never had, but I did have a Bernie jersey, and I wore it in the Muni. Like it. So Bernie's Bernie, right? For my generation, it's okay to fanboy that. But when I walked in here today, Ryan, there were two of these, and Bernie's helmet was stashed in the corner on the floor. I think some discipline needs to be shelled out for this.
The disrespect is evident.
Yeah. I'm going to blame, I know exactly who to blame. We're going to blame Warden McAllister. Warden McAllister has some answering to do. I'm not happy about it. That's why I turn my hat backwards. When I'm serious, I turn it backwards.
You don't look serious.
I look like a jackass. All right, so Ryan, intern Ryan, in closing, you said you had your fantasy draft already. What spot did you have in your draft?
Yeah, so I was telling Chico before during the break, actually. So originally I had the first overall pick because the way we did it to decide was we do March Madness. And the winner of the March Madness pool gets first pick at what pick they want for the next season.
Oh,
and
I like it.
Being a genius, was the only one who had UConn winning it all. So I decided to pick the first overall pick. But as I was telling Chico, we actually do something different in our league where we can trade our picks. So it's redraft. So it's only for this year. But for example, if I'm at the one spot and I have one and then a 12-man league, I'd have 24 and 25. That limits me to the certain players I can get, right? Because there's certain players in the teens range that I would just have absolutely no chance of getting. So that way we can trade our picks. That way put us in positions where we can go get all of our guys that we want. And so my first selection was the 12th spot. And like you said, Chico, I was in a position where, well, I didn't really want Devontae Adams. I'm a bit
we were
worried.
talking off the air, and I basically said to Ryan, I'm like, I'm in a position with Devontae Adams that I don't want to be on the clock with him there because I don't want to take him, but I also don't want to pass on him.
Yeah, so weird. I couldn't pass him. So Devontae Adams is my first pick. But then get this, Chico, my next pick, it was another thing. Josh Jacobs fell to me all the way at 24. So I pulled the trigger, and my first two picks were both Las Vegas boys.
Wow. Riding with McDaniel. Ride or die with Josh McDaniels. I love it.
I just hope he plays. All
right. Well, you are the commish.
And then top to bottom, quarterback Trevor Lawrence, my favorite breakout candidate. Obviously, Josh Jacobs. And my RB2 is definitely my weakest spot, though. but I have Javonte Williams as well as Samaje Perine. So hoping at least one of them pans out, or they can be a two-headed monster.
I had a guy in my league who, for the life of him, to this day, he still can't pronounce Perine's name. He's like, well, I mean, if you're gonna get Mixon, you might as well just draft Pirini. It's Perine, dude. It's Perine.
And then following that up, obviously Devontae Adams, my boy. We're going to mark that as my boy this season, Chico. Chris Olave is going to be my boy this year.
You're gonna you clear that with Bone.
He can have Garrett. He can have Garrett.
Any Buckeye. I'm not sure I like that, Chico. I might be away doing a gig, but I put my foot down on Olave and Wilson and Jackson Smith and Jigba and Marvin Harrison Jr. They're all the best wide receivers ever. All right. We've got another show tomorrow because it's Friday, and we're going to be recapping the Browns and the Eagles. I won't be wearing this ridiculous hat.
But what if Cade York goes 2 for 3 with a sandwich miss?
Maybe I can't say that definitively. Don't speak in so definitively on that. That's my bad. I might be wearing this. I don't know. Thanks to Bob DiBiasio, who is scarred. He even admitted, he's like, wow. Like, I appreciate you wearing that hat when I came on today. He's going to be eating dinner with his family. And just all of a sudden, he's going to see me in this hat again. That vision, it's never going to go away. For intern Ryan, I'm Chico. Another show tomorrow, 11 to 1. Browns, Eagles. The Guardians are back in town. Don't forget Hall of Fame night Saturday for Manny Ramirez and the late Dale Mitchell. That's why we had Bobby D on. If you missed any of the show, you can go to Spotify, get the whole audio version wherever you get your podcast, iTunes, whatever. iChico, Big Play, right there. So more to come tomorrow, 11 to 1. All of it right here on the network.